Uh, all right, welcome back, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of loved our last couple of intros. Have thrown us so off, so you can hear what it's like. It's real life, especially if you're watching YouTube. You can see us laugh because we're not prepared today. Today, in true fashion, we're not prepared. We were prepared for like 4 weeks, but now we're not prepared.
Yes. Listen, we did prepare for a month. That is all you can ask of us.
So true. So true. Anyway, okay. So, in true fashion, we found a topic that we want to talk about. So, the name of this episode, we're going to call it The Grateful Adoptee. And I know we've kind of talked it probably about bits and pieces about in other episodes because everything I feel kind of flows together. But what I found on something is how I guess there's a grateful adoptee narrative going on. And when people come out and share their experiences, how they're not grateful that they're adopted or that they've had trials and issues with like their parents or something, then people are like, you're invalidating them for their feelings by saying, oh, you should just be grateful. Okay. Well, first off, I don't know that I personally have ever told another adoptee who I've heard has had like hard stuff go on in their lives to be like, well, you should just be grateful. I don't think I've ever said that as an adoptee. Like, I know I've been told that before, but not by somebody in the adoption community. That's where we're going. Like, you know what I mean? I have been told, well, you should just be grateful. And I'm like, you know what? I am grateful, but you don't get, that's where I get annoyed is when people tell me how I should feel. You shouldn't be grateful or you should be grateful. And it's like, you know what? No. And so this is the thing. And I was thinking about this just the other day when I don't know what I was doing. I think I was walking or something. Everybody's story is so different. I mean, look at me and Delancey with how much we like are grateful for adoption and we love adoption, but how different our stories are. And there's probably bits to our stories that you guys don't even know that are still so drastically different from each other. But we're not like those people that are like, oh, well, you have this, so this is, and you have this, so this is. We're not those kind of adoptees that are going to be pissed off because you have a highlight in this area in your life, and mine might be a little bit lower down here. It is what it is. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, Delant. Like, no, so dumb. And that's where I get annoyed when it's like, okay, you know, people voice, they may have had struggles and issues, but I can say, I don't think I've ever been like, you should be more grateful because they're valid in their feelings. But the thing that frustrates me is this negative shit gets picked up. And then that's what everybody thinks the whole thing's about. You can't, like, we say it all the time, you can't blanket it. It's like with me and Delancey's stories, you can't blanket our stories to be the same. Like the thing we have in common is that we're adopted and that we love it. Like, but our stories are so crazy different. Anyway, okay, your turn.
Well, I mean, yes, everything you just said, yes. I mean, it's so much yes to everything you said. I think to just add like onto what you just said, because everything you said is absolutely 100% accurate. The thing that bothers me is when, like, you know, they, like you said, people tell us how we should feel. Because, you know, it's kind of like, it's almost, it's just weird to me when even people in the community, they're so not, some people in the community get into that headspace so much about being so like resonating and living in negativity and sadness and anger and all of these things. Like that's where they live, that's where they want to be. And you know, when they come across grateful adoptees, you know, we said it, you mentioned it before, and I want to point it out specifically, is that when grateful adoptees come along and we acknowledge that yes, there are some tough stories, they're not all the same, they're not all from the same place, they don't all come from the same journey, but just because you have a bad story doesn't mean that somebody who is, and like you're mad about it, doesn't mean that somebody who is grateful is, you know, the whole entire toxic positivity thing that we talked about with James.
Right.
That doesn't mean we're the bad guy. That doesn't mean you're the bad guy. It just means we have different perspectives. It's all about perspective.
Yes, 100%.
It's all about perception and perspective and everything. And when you're not willing to listen to somebody else, That's the thing that bothers me. Should there be reform? Absolutely. Should there
Oh,
be changes? Absolutely.
yes.
When somebody tells you that the statement adoption is child trafficking is wrong,
Which we are going to talk about that
I
more later one day.
yeah, that's a whole
That's a
other
later
topic,
topic.
but it's a perfect example of if somebody who's against adoption says adoption is child trafficking and all these negative things and I'm so angry and na 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 and blah blah blah, all these, I don't want to throw in too much because that is for another day, that's for another topic. But if somebody who is grateful comes in and says, well, from my perspective and the things that I've experienced, I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying because it's my lived experience.
Right.
When those people who are so, for lack of a better term, hell bent
Yeah.
that adoption is child trafficking,
Yeah. No, it's true.
absolutely. And they come at the person who is
Yeah.
saying, from my experience, telling them, you're invalidating my feelings. I'm not invalidating your feelings. I'm explaining to you why I disagree with you.
Right. No,
Like,
100% true.
I'm using real life data of my real life experiences. But have you noticed that people who are against adoption and who tell their stories and their real life lived experiences of how awful adoption is, those stories are valid.
Yes.
Those are valid. Those are
Yes.
okay. But those
Yes.
of us who have great stories are told that we're toxic positivity, we're invalidating others, and all of these other things. Listen, if you want to live in misery, just say you want to live in misery. It'll
Right.
save us
No.
both some air.
No,
It'll save
it's
us both
so
time.
true. No, it's so true. And I love that you brought that up because it made me think of something. There was somebody that posted something, and this is probably going to really piss some people off, but I don't really care. She
Oh, I'm
posted
excited.
something from this guy who he said, we are in such a time right now where everything is so trauma driven. Everything people say, it's like
Mm-hmm.
trauma. That's trauma. That's trauma. That's trauma. Oh, I have a little person that popped it.
Is there a little person? I didn't even
Yeah, but
see them walk
he's not gonna
in.
pop up because
Ah,
he's sleeps in his, yep. Here, bring it back,
yeah.
okay, buddy?
He
He's
crawled
just getting
in.
my
That's
yeah,
what's
he's
up.
getting my you'll see the door shut here in a sec.
I was about to be like, your house is haunted, Melena.
No, but like he was saying he even started his video that way. He's like, people are not gonna like this, but I'm gonna say I wish I could find it. But the guy was just going on to say like everything is like a trauma response for people. You say this
Yeah.
happened, trauma. You say this happened, trauma. You say this happened, trauma. And it's like, when did it become a world where everything is like, oh, it's trauma. Oh, it's trauma. Oh, it's trauma. Like, yes, I'm not taking away from there are things that are trauma. That's not what I'm saying.
Mhm.
But when people use it as a crutch for every little freaking
Mhm.
stupid thing, yes, then no. Like,
I
I was
mean,
like, say it louder.
when did life stop being about experiences,
Right.
good and bad? Now, there, like you said, there are some things that are very traumatic.
Yes.
I
Yes.
completely agree.
Yeah.
But your teacher yelling at you in class is not trauma.
Agreed.
I'm
Oh,
just using that as a random example because
but it's a good one.
I
Yeah.
had come across something like that. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I
People,
get
no,
that
no.
not everything's trauma.
No, and people will label it. And that's where I feel like with these quote unquote grateful adoptees, like when on the flip side, like you're saying, they get more traction because it's negative. And we're in such a world right now where people want that and they want to be validated.
Mhm.
That's what gets me. They just want to be validated. And it's like, Kate, I get everybody wants to be validated, but like, why can't people who are grateful for adoption be validated too? Like, why is it a bad thing?
That part.
Like,
That part. Why is it one lived experience is valid, but another one is not? That is what I do not understand.
yeah,
I
no,
do not understand that. Just because some of us decide to choose joy
right,
in situations, I don't understand when did we become the bad guys?
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
No,
when did that happen?
exactly. Exactly. No.
Oh wait,
And
I
I
could probably guess, but I'm not gonna say it on the podcast because.
no, but it's like it's crazy because even the adoptees that we've had come on that have had such hard experiences,
Hmm.
like they I don't know, there's like, and it goes back to everybody's story so different, but most people I feel like that we have had on they come and they rise above the ashes. Like they really
Mm-hmm.
do. They're like, okay, you know what? I did go through this and this and this and this, but now look where I am because
Mm-hmm.
I am grateful for it. But the sad thing is like people don't hear these stories a lot because they get snuffed. They get snuffed,
Mm-hmm.
or there's people who, which is not, I mean, there's people that probably don't talk on either side. It's just happiness, I feel, in this day and age is something that isn't pushed as much as like being sad and all the
Mm-hmm.
other crap. Like people want the sadness, and I'm just like, why?
But
I don't
why?
understand it. Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. I completely understand the thought process behind like, if you're having a rough day, you want to watch a sad movie so you can cry it out and move on. I
Mhm.
get that. Done it. I totally understand it.
Right.
But why would you want to stay there for days upon days upon days? And it's not, but here's the thing though, it's not just about you staying there, you're affecting everybody.
I was just gonna say those are the type of people I do not like to be around.
Mm-mm.
And whether you're
I have to separate myself.
adopted or not, I don't care. If you're a negative ass person, I don't care to be in your presence. It's hard because people don't realize
Mm-hmm.
how much that, and this sounds really weird because I'm not one of those people,
Draining.
that energy, you feel that energy and it just sucks all the life out of you because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot do this. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like it's a lot. That's why I like
It's a lot. It's too much. It's like it's one of those things of I like you said, I personally I just can't be around that. Just
mm-mm.
like you said, like I can't. I will be kind. I will show,
Correct.
whatever. But it's like when you are just nasty,
Yeah.
just mean, and like everything is
Yes.
awful, like
Yep.
everything. Like you can't find joy in anything. You
Right.
don't smile. You always look like you're miserable. Like I don't understand. Like, are you okay?
Right.
Like,
No,
are
it's
you
true.
okay? Like, I want to know, like, not you, Melina, but like, just in case anybody's confused. But like, I want to ask these people, are you okay?
Yeah.
Because I've seen you for 2 weeks now,
Yeah.
like in passing or something, and you always look miserable.
Right.
Like, and I know I have RBF. I know that. So I try to, I'm also a very animated person and a very big personality. So if I'm not, you know, all over,
And then people are like, wait, what?
yeah, if you probably missed that. Um, if I'm not like that, I have to be very cognizant that I'm not doing an RBF face. Like I have to, like
Right.
if I'm not paying attention to my face at all, I look like I'm mad at the world. And I don't
Yeah.
want people to think I'm mad at the world.
Right. Right. But no. And so uh, I don't know. On this thing that we came across that we kind of like why we want to talk about this is it's like I don't even know because I don't have my phone. Mac took it, but it's just something about like things you can do to if people tell you that you should be grateful that you're adopted. And I mean, I have told people in my experience, I have had people. Have you had anybody tell you that, like, that you should be grateful that you're adopted? I'll ask you that. We'll start there. Has anybody ever told you that, Delancey? Like, you should be grateful you're adopted?
I think, yeah, not so much like in that phrase. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. I mean, yeah, I have been told that before because it's just, I don't know. I feel like sometimes people can say that out of frustration and anger. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if
Wholeheartedly.
they, yeah, if they don't, like if they, I'm trying to think. It's almost like if they see what you have,
I know
and
where
then
you're
like you're
going.
having,
Yeah.
like, like you're being
Yeah.
like
I know where you're
you're
going.
being like a kid or a teenager, and
Yeah.
like you're like
Yeah.
a whatever, but somebody else sees what you have, and you like make a comment,
Right.
something like, I mean, like any kid or teenager does, like, God, my parents suck.
Right.
Like,
Right. Right.
because you want to do something and they told you no.
Yeah.
You don't
Exactly.
understand why, but it
Right.
is what it
Right.
is. So, and, and I've had someone tell me, like, you should be grateful for them. They gave you opportunity. It's like, first of all, I never said I wasn't
Sit
grateful for
down.
them. I am
Right.
being a typical child.
Yeah.
I am being an atypical child, because if any child says that they have not at some point in time in their life thought that their parents suck, you are lying.
Oh, agreed.
Like you're
Oh,
lying. You're
agreed.
either lying to the world or you're lying to yourself, but you're
Oh,
lying
agreed.
because Mhm. What
Yeah.
about has someone told you that? Please don't tell me
Yeah.
someone actually like
So they did, and I think it stung me more because it was the time. Like 'cause that's the other thing I wanted to say, and I like how you were saying that. It like you got it depends on who's saying it, how they're saying it, what kind of headspace you're
Mhm.
in, what you're talking about. For me, it was right after I found my birth family, and there were like
Mm,
six siblings, and so I was like, oh my goodness, why was I the only one placed for adoption? And granted, y'all know how grateful I am. So incredibly grateful that I'm
mhm.
adopted. Love it. Wouldn't change it for the world. I know that God wanted me here. Everything. I wouldn't change it. Would not change it. But that
Mhm.
question of kind of like, okay, why just me? I was smack dab in the middle, you know? But then, like, obviously seeing their lives, they work very hard for what they have, but their lifestyle is so completely different from mine. And so voicing this to somebody, and it's like, well, you should just be grateful you're adopted because then you have all this stuff, like all these opportunities, all, your husband. And the one word I really hate is when people are like, you're so lucky. No, I'm not, Rhonda. Like, it's not my fault that like the dominoes stack to the way they are. It just happens for people. Okay. Thanks, buddy. Sorry, Dad just texted you. Anyway, and you probably all saw that if you were on. Ooh, I gotta tell him. Anyway, but like
I
that's where I'm
mean,
like,
we didn't say anything if that's helpful. Continue.
okay,
Sorry.
okay, good. No, no, no. It's just like I don't know. It's where is it for other people to tell them that they're lucky and that they're grateful when people have worked hard for things like for me, like a good marriage. People are always like, oh my gosh. And it's like, it's work. Marriage is work. It's not easy. It takes two people. So don't be like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky with your husband. Like, yeah, I believe, yeah, I
Mhm.
am lucky and I love him, but it's like you work for crap. Like, same with my kids. Oh my gosh, you're so lucky that your
Yeah.
kids are so good and so proper and so nice. Well, half of that is because, yes, I am very, you do not disrespect people. You know what I mean with my kids? And they have like, and plus
I mean,
they
half
just
that's
got
because you raised them.
yeah, and they got big hearts. That's just something
Mhm.
naturally that comes to them too from me and their dad. Yes, I'm being like, but it just does. It comes from me and their dad. And so but I don't know. I just can't like when the person told me that, I was like, okay, I understand where you're coming from,
Mhm.
but like that I should be grateful. But you also have to understand that that feeling was really real for me for a little bit. That like, why me?
Mhm.
But I didn't sit in it. I could be sitting in it still today. None of this podcast would have happened if I was like, what? Oh my gosh. Like I have to run away to Columbia. No. Like, no. Like, but you know what I mean? It's all about you've got to really think about it and think why. And it's hard. Sometimes it is hard, the things that are like, the chips you are given. And it's hard, but
Right.
it's like, why am I going to sit and wallow about it when
Mhm.
I can be grateful for it and then look at things that have happened and continue to just
Mhm.
feel grateful for it? You know what I mean? And yes, I'm grateful. I am grateful for it. And it's not a bad thing that I'm grateful for it. And like I said, we'll never take or unvalidate their feelings because their shit's real to them. Like, but if I see you again in 10 years and you're still harping on this really hardcore, go find
That
Jesus.
says more about, yeah, this is more about your interpersonal workings than it does about the
Right.
situation.
Right. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Anyway, that's
I just
where.
don't I just can't believe that somebody would actually, I mean, the part that kills me, out of everything, like, the part that got me with what you just said, wow, I had a total brain stutter on that, was people telling you, it's almost like it's full circle because it's like, you should be so grateful because you're adopted and you're given all this stuff and these opportunities and all these things. Come full circle, you have your own kids that are biological kids,
Yeah.
and you're told, oh, you're so lucky, you should be so grateful that your kids are so well behaved. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever happened to, hashtag blessed,
Right.
hashtag, I took what I was given and I made,
Right.
great, great things happen from it. Now, oh God, it just bothers me. That just bothers me. That just tells me that those people don't know how to discipline their children
No. Well, and the
in
whole
an
lucky thing
in an
too.
effective manner. By the
Yeah.
way, in an
No.
effective manner for the
Yeah.
child, because not all, you
Right.
can't discipline all kids the same. That doesn't
Yeah.
work.
I just don't love the luck word because it's like they're so lucky for
Uh.
people who you see. for people you see that actually put in the work and where they're at in their life today, financially, whatever, they have all
Mm-hmm.
these things. It's like, look back and see the work that they put in. Like, same with like
Mm-hmm.
athletes and stuff. Look at all the time they sacrifice. I mean, and this working in it,
Hours,
all the time they sacrifice out
hours,
of their life to freaking get better, to
hours out
throw
of
a
their
pitch
day.
better, to like bat better. You know what I mean? There's so many different things. And
Yeah.
the greats become the
Hours.
greats because exactly they take hours out of their day versus doing other
Mm-hmm.
things, playing or this or that to become better. And that's
And
why
they
they get the
do, they do,
scholarships and, yeah.
and they do extra work. They don't do the minimum.
Yes. Yes.
That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is they look at these, these athletes and things like that. For the perfect example, athletes, and they almost forget that A, they're human,
Right.
and B, they're putting in the hours and hours and hours out of their day,
Yeah.
not just practice,
Yeah.
but they are working out, they're lifting weights, they're eating, what they're told to eat, like they're eating healthy, they're being mindful of how much water they intake. They're running. Just God, that makes me sick just thinking about that. But they're putting in not just the sanctioned things; they're stepping outside of it, and they're doing other things outside of what that to me a practice schedule in my brain. A practice schedule is the minimum.
Right. Agreed.
You need to do
No.
stuff on your own, which is why like adoptees and anyone in the adoption community, it's almost like honestly anybody in the world, you can't just go and go to a seminar and like you're fine, like you have to put in work.
Oh, it's so true. And I love how you said that because it's also like a lot of these people too, they listen to things that uplift them. They're not watching
Mm-hmm.
the news that has all this, really toxic crap. They're listening to books that can uplift them or podcasts that uplift them or happy songs. Like they listen to happiness. What?
That actually reminds me, so speaking of the news, this just shows how crazy things have gotten in our country because and this is gonna circle back. I promise y'all, hold
No,
on,
it's
stay with me. Recently the government has come out and told us that there were aliens among us and they've been here since the 30s.
I did see that.
Nobody cares. Have you noticed that?
No, it's true.
Nobody
No,
cares. There
no.
has been zero outrage. There has been, zero videos of like, oh my gosh, the government, like everyone is so accustomed to things being so wild and crazy and awful coming from the news and coming from our government too recently, like over the last few years, like
Oh yeah,
things have
the
just
last
not
3
been
years.
moving
Yeah.
forward for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, things have just not been. I mean, I think everybody, both sides of the aisle, can agree that
Oh,
things are just not going as great as we would like them to. And
correct.
so it's almost like they come out and they're like, yes, there are aliens, they're here. Well, yeah, we know they tried to, storm Area 51.
Yeah.
Does anyone else remember that when that happened I think it was during 2020, when everyone was going to collectively storm Area 50? We know, we've been aware. We
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's how complacent and accepting of misery and yuckiness that we've gotten, that even we're not even excited about, ooh,
Right.
there's aliens here.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a while to get to me because I don't watch the news. And when it got to me, I was like, you know what? Makes sense. That tracks. That for me, that tracks. And does this mean that they're going to start coming out and telling us that they're aliens so they can answer all the questions? Because I have questions.
Love you.
I'm just saying. But like that's where we are with
No,
our
it's true.
country, is that we just accept the misery. And it starts with each person that wants to live in their misery.
Amen. Oh,
And you
100%.
know what? I cannot speak to any other community and say anything except for with the adoption community on all the sides. So wherever you fall in that triad, you can be the light in the world of
Yes.
darkness and
Amen.
say, you know what? Maybe some crappy things have happened to me. Maybe I had to make a crappy decision, that I feel was a crappy decision, but there was a benefit to somebody else and it helped somebody else. And you know what? That's a good thing. That is a
Yes.
good thing. That's a good thing that I did. I need to work
Yes.
on me, and I need to walk people through how I took what I initially thought was a crappy decision. And I said, thank you, God, for making me make that decision. Like how
Right.
Mackenzie explained it. I
Yeah.
love
Yes.
Mackenzie's story for the
Yeah.
simple fact that she talked about how hard it was, how terrible it was, how rough it was. And then you have Ryan talking about his perspective, how
Yeah.
hard it was, how terrible it was, how awful it was. But
Yeah.
look how they fell in love,
Yeah.
like in love, not in like,
Right.
in love. And they,
Yeah.
y'all, they're the cutest couple.
Hmm.
That's where it starts. That's how we can make that difference, is by
Right.
going, you know what, this misery thing sucks. So we're going to choose joy, and tell us all about the aliens now, because we want to learn.
It's so true though. And I love that you brought them up because like I think about that all the time, how she's like, it was one of the hardest decisions of my life. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Hardest. But she's even said I would go back and tell my younger self to do it again. Like
All over
it
again.
takes it takes a lot of maturity and a lot of like
Mhm.
being okay with the situation to be able to say
Mhm.
that. To be able to
Mhm.
be like, I would tell my younger self, and how she's like, I knew God had a hand in it. You know what I mean? And I don't know how religious they are anymore, but for her to believe that, like, God is like there, and
Mhm.
you know what I mean? That's huge. That's huge. And it's like,
I
I don't
agree.
know. I love their story because I'm the same way. It's like, and they have taken it. And I love how she says, even to this day, there's still times it creeps up and it's hard, because it is. It just is what it is. It's going to creep up on you. It's going to be hard. And, she chooses to how she's going to react. There might be a day that's completely down on her, but then she'll pick it back up. But you know what I mean? And it's
Mhm.
okay. It's okay to have those bad days. It's just like what Delancey said about 2 weeks. Like, and you just continue to go and live and be like that.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to be around that. Nobody.
Well, hard days don't mean a hard life.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And why do you want to pull down everybody else around you?
Oh, it's so true. So true.
Like, and
I
then
don't even
you're gonna use the excuse of, well, I was adopted. Stop that.
exactly.
Because then
Exactly.
people, the more adoptees that say, I'm in this place because I'm adopted, they're gonna
Yeah.
start thinking that we feel that way too.
Yes.
And
Yes.
anyone that has met me knows, in the words of my mother, that I am so much fun and such a good time until I'm not. Just don't make me not. But I'm so much fun and such a good time, and I'm fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's when you're setting a precedent
Mhm.
for people to think that all adoptees are going to grow up and be miserable human beings.
Right.
And there is no other way for me to say that other than
No.
that.
No, it's so
Like,
true though.
I'm just going to call a spade on that one. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I don't want people to assume I'm a miserable adoptee. I don't want them to assume I'm a miserable person.
It's true though. No, it's so true though. No,
Yep.
because
Right.
but you know those people. That's what I'm saying. And I like how you said that, because you know those people. And I guarantee you, I can think of a couple in my life and you don't want to be around them. You do not want to be around them because you know how miserable it is. And so, like, I love how you said that. Like, you want to be around people like you who are joyful and fun. And you know what I mean? It like
Mm-hmm.
it's like you said though, like it doesn't mean that you don't have bad days or that you that you get frustrated or annoyed or whatever, or frustrated with people. It doesn't mean that you don't have those days, but like I mean, for the most part, it's like happiness. And I just don't understand why people don't want to live in that. But there's a lot of people. Do you think some people are even aware of how negative or miserable they are because they've lived in it for so long? What do you?
I don't think that they are, to be honest. I think when
Yeah.
you live in that negativity, the passive aggressiveness and all that stuff for so long,
Yeah.
that you think that you're the one that's right and everyone else is wrong, and that people that are genuinely nice and happy and, like, say, hey, how are you, and all that other stuff,
Right, right.
they label those people as fake,
Mhm.
because
See
they're
that.
not consistently
I can
miserable,
see that. Yeah.
which is, I mean, I've met genuinely fake people. I'm just like,
Right. Oh, yeah.
stop. But
Oh, yeah.
I've also been called fake by people that are like, oh yeah, totally, it's great, love it. And I went, how am I fake? And the person's response was, because it's like, you just put on this front. I was like, what front? I was like, I am who I am. It is what it is. And they're like, well, you like pop around here all bubbly and stuff, but if something happens that you don't like, and I'm like, I have a natural reaction.
That's not fake.
Like, I'm a human being. I know that's shocking.
Fake.
I'm surprisingly not one of those aliens that's been here since the 30s. Um, I just, and I was like, give me an example. And it was like, the example he was giving, he was like, when you were just really quiet for like a couple of days. And I was like, what? And he was like, and then, but when you were really quiet for those couple of days, when I would hear you on the phone and you're all like, hey, this is Nancy, and I was like, okay, first of all, I was quiet because I didn't feel well. I was sick.
Yeah.
But I had work I had to get done. It wasn't like sickness enough to keep me in bed at home, but I didn't feel well and I had a lot of work to get done.
Yeah.
So I had to focus. And he was like, well, then why were you like that on the phone? I was like, first of all, that's my phone voice. It's just my phone voice. I have a phone when I answer it. And I said, I have learned in my years of experience of life that when somebody answers the phone, hey, this is Delancey, thanks for calling. They're way more like receptive to, hey, this is Delancey, how can I help you?
Right.
Like,
what's crazy is me and a friend were just having a conversation. We went somewhere with the kids in our church, and the lady at one of the booth thingies, she looked so ornery. And I leaned over to my friend and I was like, it really drives me crazy when you see people like that working in customer service, because her whole like just persona, very off-putting. And so it's like, who wants to be around that?
Nobody.
Exactly. And so
nobody wants to be
I
around
love that you said that, because like people that work in customer service that don't want to be there, I'm like, why? Just why? Like, I don't understand that. Then find a different job to where you don't have to talk to people. But you know what? At the same time, like you're saying, it's totally fine for you to have crappy days. But then you have to learn how to turn it on when you're in front of somebody. Like how you were saying that with your phone. Like, I think that's amazing that you did that, because like that just amaze me. Why are you?
It should.
That's not fake at all. Like, ugh.
I don't think it is either, but it's definitively one of those things where it's like, that's the example you're giving me.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, all right.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, it's, I don't think it's just, I think but it's so funny to me because it drives this particular person insane. And I do it because I know he secretly likes it. Like he'll be walking down the hallway. He always looks like he's just like, he doesn't look like he's mad at the world, but he looks like he's just like not there for it. Does that make sense? Yes. Like he's just not there for it. And I'm always like, hey, how's your day? How are things? How was your weekend?
Yeah.
Did you get to see your girlfriend? Did you, oh, you did? Cool. Did you? And now it's so funny because after so long of that, he will proactively now come in and sit down in my office and he will show me pictures of his. So it's funny because ever since that initial conversation, I was like, that wasn't me being fake. That's like me trying to give all the energy I have to human interaction when I need to and reserving it. Right. Because I don't feel well. Like, right. I have a reserve tank. Exactly. But it's one of those things that just goes to show. I'm so sorry. She keeps barking. Oh, it just goes to show it is our responsibility as believers in God and believers in Jesus to spread the light in the world. It is a choice.
Amen. It is 100%.
And again, I've heard this on an episode playback not too long ago, but preaching to the choir, because I know people who listen to us are more than likely not those adoptees, or if they are, welcome. We are so glad you're here. Yes. We are so glad you're here, that you're interested in hearing another perspective. Right. But if you are in that, do a lot of work to try to find a balance.
Right. Right. 100%.
All about balance.
So true. Oh, it's so true.
So
And it's not easy. We get it's not easy.
Mm-mm.
Both of us who fight every day to better ourselves and to be better than were the day before. We know it's not easy. Well, it's not what we're saying. We know it's not easy. And I mean, it does help to have a good support system. I mean, it does help to believe in God. So, you know, the big man's there for you. You can pray to him and all those kinds of things. But it's like,
That part.
I know we can't change anybody, and I know we could probably talk until we're blue in the face to be like, hey, go take care of you, go do some stuff for you. But like, you have to be the one to make that change, and you can't be surprised when like all your friends leave. Nobody's there for you because people do not want to be around miserable people dying in pocket. She's all snuggled up in Delancey. I love it so much.
I had to, or else she was going to start barking again.
And look at her. Oh, I love her. Yes, you look like a big soft fluff ball that I just want to just rub.
She's the sweetest. She's making friends recently, so she's learning to socialize with people and other dogs. She's trying. She's trying.
I love it so much. Anything else that you have to add to that? Thoughts, feelings, emotions. Because you should be grateful.
Because I should be grateful. That as hard as this is to hear, especially if you're going through a tough time right now, everything that happens to you is actually a blessing. It's just all about perspective and trying to see it.
That's deep.
So
I'm saving that for the quote on this episode. Damn, that's deep, dude.
Well, it's I had to explain that to somebody recently that I reconnected with.
Oh no. I don't know what it's doing. It's really.
There we go.
I was back. Like, I just turned my kids had something streaming, so I just turned it off. He's probably going to come in. Mom, why'd you turn it off?
Well,
because I need the internet for a second, okay?
Right?
Sorry, repeat it. What you were saying. You just reconnected with somebody. I had to turn it off. I don't have internet. Give me a sec. I'm almost done. Okay. Thanks, Lex. Anyway, you just reconnected with somebody.
Just reconnected with somebody, you know, gave him some like high points. Like we've talked about, you know, because we haven't talked in like 18 years. So, you know, he was catching me up on his life. I was catching him up on mine, but like we're not going like into detail because there's no reason to, like not right now. We just reconnected. So I think the thing that threw me was when I gave him like a few high points, like good and bad, but like they were very pivotal moments in my life. And he was like, gosh, my heart breaks for you. That's just so horrible. That's just so rough. And I was like, huh? What do you mean? He was like, well, you just been through such hard things. And I went,
yeah.
And I mean, to me, every step of my journey has been a blessing. I'm still here. I love God. I have a better relationship with Jesus, everything. And I even said, my story is going to help other people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true though. It's so true.
So yeah. So why would I be mad at it?
Right. Yeah. No.
And I think that threw him because he was like, you've always been like this. And I was like, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I may go through a hard time, but I'm going to be okay. It's going to be okay. So like.
Exactly.
So yeah, that would be the one thing I would say is, you know, how did I say that? I mean, I literally already forgot. It's so terrible.
I don't know, but it was good. I can't remember either because then you froze and I was like, oh shoot, I gotta get us back on. But it was really good. I caught it right before you froze, so I'll get it because it was good.
I'm gonna say, really however I originally said it, that's what I mean. You're welcome.
No, I love it so much. No, and I just agree with everything that Delancey's saying. Like, I mean, it sucks and hard stories suck. We don't take away from that. We get it. They're real feelings. Nobody's ever trying to invalidate you. I think honestly, sometimes that's just something like, I don't know. But if they are, I'm sorry, they're invalidating you because yes, everybody is valid in their feelings. They really are. Whether good, whether bad, people are valid in their feelings. So but yeah.
Feelings are feelings.
So
you can't change them.
No, it's so true. Anyway. All right. Okay. That's it for this one.
That was good.
Thanks for listening, guys. And we will.
We're doing a little dance over here.
Dance and catch you next time.